So after a lackluster 1-0 victory over Haiti, we are neck deep in Gold Cup content, the 2020 Gold Cup. And already it's off to a weird start, man. We've seen two of the biggest names in the tournament in Chucky Lozano and Alphonso Davies go down with injuries in the first game. We saw a few U.S. men's national team players in Paul Arriola and Reggie Cannon and Daryl Dike have injuries of one sort or another. And we've already seen some weird results with that Qatar game with Panama last night. That was, I don't know if you guys are watching that, but it's absolutely nuts. So I'm still kind of like, I have no idea what to make of this tournament. I've brought in a man who I think can help us make sense of this a little bit. He is an OG of the U.S. men's national team content scene. His podcast, along with his partner, The Straight Red Card, was once upon a time one of the biggest U.S. men's national team fan content podcasts out there. They stopped it at one point and they brought it back, and it's already growing into an absolute fan favorite. I would like to welcome Derek Ritchie of The Straight Red Card. Derek, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sam. No, it's great to be here. It really is. When we started thinking about coming back, we started watching all the shows across the landscape, and we got pretty hooked on your show. So it's nice to be here, even though I'm much older and much grayer now.
Well, I alluded to this in the intro, and it's something I've been saying a bunch of times. Like, you know, I watched the U.S. men's national team game against Haiti, and I did feel feelings, but I'm still like, I don't know what to make of this tournament. It is such a weird tournament. Where is your head at in all of this?
Oh, I mean, I think if, you are being somewhat conservative about this, you're just basically thinking, I'm hoping we find 2 or 3 or 4 guys out of this group who can add on to the A and A minus teams as we go towards the World Cup. Now, I'm not going as far as Lexi Lawless, who claimed that we could see many players on this team not only make the World Cup team, but star for the World Cup team. That's too much. And, that's the kind of stuff we don't need to hear, and no one needs to hear that. But I guess it makes you want to watch the game, even though there's no Pulisic, no McKennie, no Adams, etc.
Historically, he's been correct. Historically, the Gold Cup has always served as a launching point for players. I know in the last cycle, Reggie Cannon was a guy that wasn't even called into the first team. Ends up, a player gets an injury, he gets on the team as an injury, and he becomes a huge part of the cycle from that point on. He was a player that nobody saw coming, ends up getting a move to Portugal off of the strength of his Gold Cup participation. And, I mean, let's be honest, we could be seeing the same thing happen with Shaq Moore, who was a player that was well off the scene, a player that was not going to be a part of this team until Julian Araujo decided not to join the tournament. He gets brought in, Reggie Cannon gets injured, he comes in the first game and has a huge game, probably the man of the match of the game.
Was for me. The thing about Shaq Morris, he's no secret in Spain. He's not a secret on the Iberian Peninsula. People know about him. Tenerife have held on to him as long as possible for a reason. They are fighting to get promoted. It does shine a light on him. I mean, Tenerife might get some offers for Shaq Moore if he continues to play like this for the rest of the tournament. But, I look at, we talked about Cannon making a name for himself and moving to Portugal, but I'm not looking at a lot of these players that played versus Haiti. Those guys, they're done. They're not going to Europe at this point. A lot of them aren't. No, Sam Vines is not going to Europe unless it's like a small club in Belgium, maybe. But I don't know if he'd want to do that. That's the difference here. This is our C team, or a C minus team, people have been calling it. These guys are fighting for 2 or 3 spots. Some of them might be fighting for some limelight, but it's not a lot of them fighting for limelight. Gyasi Zardes is going nowhere. I mean, I could go down the list of all the guys who are going nowhere at this point. So,
and that's something that I'm thinking, like, after the game, like, I'm thinking about, like, Paul Arriola gets injured. That's going to have a huge impact because he's one of the bright spots on this team. But then again, I'm thinking, like, well, he's like 6th or 7th in the winger depth chart. So how does this affect the U.S. men's national team, the first 23? How does this affect World Cup qualifying? I don't really
Yeah.
know. I don't really know what to make of it. I don't know if I should be upset or happy or like I don't know.
I think it's better if you're happy and just let me be upset because it it's okay. I've learned with dealing with upset for a long
Yeah,
time.
I tend to be
You're right, but
optimistic.
Brett usually plays the half glass full guy, and I'm the glass half empty guy, and that's I get the good balance on the show. But I think for Areola, it was a huge, devastating injury because he needed to stake a claim, and now we're left basically, unless you're going to put Lewis back out there again, which God help me if he does, you're left with Hoppy, and you're left with Gio Caccini as your wingers going forward. You could throw a Costa seems to be able to play anywhere, but
Yeah,
you don't want to throw him on
Leggett
the
as
wing.
well. Leggett could play out there.
Yep. You could throw those guys out there, but that's probably not going to happen. And we really need to get a good, nice goal difference cushion against Martinique. So I don't expect Berhalter to do anything too tricky or out of the ordinary. A lot of people talking about 3-5-2, 3-5-2. I've been seeing that now for the last 3 days. I've been actually seeing it before the tournament started. I don't think we're going to see that either. I mean, I'd like to see it, but I'm not counting on throwing Sands out there in a 3.
Yeah, after the report that Areola is not as injured as was originally reported, I think the report said that he's going to stay with the team. So I don't know if that means that he's ready to go in the Martinique game or if he's going to need a few weeks or like what it is exactly with him. But I would have thought that if the plan was to play 3 in the back, you might have brought an additional center back. And Greg already mentioned coming into the tournament that center back is a position that he felt like the team was thin at. He was comfortable with the top 2 guys, but beyond that, he didn't seem too thrilled. That being said, James Sands did come in and he did provide, I guess, as much of a spark as you can provide in the last 20 minutes of a game against Haiti.
Right. I rewatched it again last night because some guy wrote me and said, "Hey, man, you missed the whole Sands thing. It was great." I'm like, it was a brief moment in time. I did miss it. I love Sands. I don't think you throw him, and we don't have any other options since CCV and Eric Palmer Brown both said no, thank you. And Miazga was on an extended wedding break, and Miazga. I have this conspiracy theory I've brewed up in my head that Miazga and Berhalter don't like each other very much, and Brett always smacks me around, says, "Stop that, stop that." But anyhow, we won't talk about the evidence that I have. But if Berhalter is really solid on 2 CBs, that's Brooks and who? Long? Because Long's got a really serious injury, and that really leaves you the rest of the lineup: Eric Palmer Brown, Chris Richards, CCV, and Matt Miazga, hopefully. But it's no one solidified that spot. But I don't think it's an area we really need to be as concerned about as who's backing up Tyler Adams, because that's really the bottom line. And that's what we're trying to figure out in this tournament. Who's the backup? Is it a Costa?
And I think
who is it?
I think we saw in that last game, like I tweeted out that this was probably the end of the Jackson Ewell era. And then after the game, Berhalter's comments, although he didn't call out Ewell specifically, seemed like he was talking exactly about Jackson Ewell and that, we weren't progressive enough. Right. There was a lot of back passing. He seemed really upset about that. And then Busio came in and was just such a spark in that he was able to turn and play forward. Play progressive. Like he wasn't Pirlo out there, even though I'm seeing some of those comparisons already. At least he brought that spark. Italian. Yeah. But that's something I tweeted out also, that I think that this team is going to get better game over game. And I think simply by trading out Ewell for Busio or Ewell for Williamson or Acosta or whoever you want to put in there, I think the team just immediately gets better because you just get that progressiveness and we're going at the opposition. And for the most part, we're going to be better than the opposition that we're playing, except for a couple of teams.
Right. So, Brett and I argued about this in the last show. You're not starting Ewell again. And if you do, then that's exactly why American fans are upset.
Yeah.
Okay.
Guys, let me interrupt Derek for 1 second to thank our sponsor for today's video. That is OneFootball, the free app that just has all the information about all your favorite players, teams, games, whatever at your fingertips. My favorite thing about the OneFootball app at the moment is it is so easy to keep track of Gold Cup games, who won what game, what the stats were, when they're playing, at what time. I mean, the Gold Cup, I don't know if you've ever been to the Gold Cup website, but it is a nightmare trying to figure out who's playing when, tracking time zones and trying to figure out all that. With the OneFootball app, it's a breeze. You just go on there, you hit games, you scroll down, you see who's playing. I can see who's playing tomorrow, the next day. It is so much easier. To download the OneFootball app, click the link in the description. By doing so, you will be directly supporting the Yank Report, and you will also be getting the latest news and information about your favorite players, teams, leagues, whatever you want to find out about the world of soccer. It is all there in the OneFootball app. Thank you, OneFootball, for supporting U.S. soccer content creators like me. Now let's get back to Derek.
So you don't start you have to start somebody. You can't, in my opinion, I don't think you just throw Busio out in the fire. I know it's just Martinique, but I think Williamson might be better there. I think he's more mature. I think he's tougher. I think he's stronger. I think he's more physical. I think he's more anticipatory. You could throw Acosta back there if you were really nervous because you want to rack up at least a 3-goal win against Martinique. You don't have to, but you'd like to going into the last game with Canada in case it's a tie. Then you win on goal difference. So knowing Greg as the conservative guy that he is, he's not going to. My belief, Brett believes otherwise. I believe that he will not start Busio at that holding position next game because it'll make him nervous. And Greg doesn't like to be nervous, not on purpose. So, he'll be more conservative. I think.
Yeah, I could see. I mean, people. I know the internet exploded whenever the roster was released for the game, and people were like, "What is he thinking?" And to me, it seemed very clear what he was thinking. What he was thinking was try to get as many veterans in there as possible. He didn't start any of the players that would be making their debuts, and he hasn't been a coach that has started players on their debut, except in very tough circumstances, like Gio Reyna got to start on his debut.
Where it's
Musa,
obvious he has to start because he's made it very evident that if you don't start him, you're an idiot. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that there is a human element to that, and not wanting just to throw somebody out in the fire. I understand that. I understand that someone, a 19-year-old like Gianluca Busio, you wouldn't want him to lose confidence early in the tournament. If you have the ability to work him in, that's a good thing. But at the same time, to me, it just seems like his quality is so much better. I just wonder, in practice, does anybody have a doubt who the better player is? He seemed like he's just worlds better technically than all the other options out there.
Yeah, no one's ever questioned Busio being an average technical player. He does have that gift. I think the only thing I worry about is the coverage of the back four. And I think that Williamson's more of a destroyer. But then you could argue that Williamson is better attacker, too. He's better running the lanes. He's better finding passes between the lines. Oh, listen to me. Now I'm starting to sound like Greg Berhalter. Oh, God. I am so sorry, Sam. All right, let me back that up and not use those dumb terms. Like balance and fluidity.
It's so funny. Whenever I was watching I was rewatching the game, and I saw that first goal, and I saw that movement action where Areola came back and checked into the space, and then Kellen Acosta ran into that space that Areola vacated. The center back played the ball into that space, and then they worked it out wide. And I noticed that the left back then kind of had to scramble to cover Areola, and the center back was outside. And I thought to myself, wow, this defense is really unbalanced by that movement. And then I was like, oh no, that's exactly what it is. That's the Berhalter. That's the thing.
And that's the reason people are very frustrated with Berhalter. He does talk in code. And if you're a casual fan, maybe you just swallow that and go, okay, well, I don't know what he's talking about, so he must be making sense. But if you're not, if you are somebody who's been watching the game for 20 years, you're like, that's just gobbledygook. That's just, it's word salad. It doesn't mean anything. If you're going to tell me that Lewis is going to start for this team, a team he shouldn't even have made, because Mueller really should have been there if you're going to take somebody from that. Anyhow, we'll get into Mueller. But, if you're going to play Lewis, And you're going to say, and if I were there as an old journalist, because I used to do those things, and he would have said, well, Lewis provides balance and fluidity. And I would have asked, well, what kind of balance? And then he would have to tell me, I guess, or he would have said, what, you know what balance is? Come on, you know what balance is, you dummy. I don't know what Greg would have been polite, because Greg's very polite. But, we're not seeing a lot of hard questions from the press, unfortunately. And that's why a lot of people are upset, because no one's getting answers because no one's asking questions. And that's not good. And I'm old now, and I'm just going to ask as many questions as I want.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think that's something that I've noticed lately, that the fan base is become more and more heated over the weeks about the media, the U.S. soccer media, as well as Greg Berhalter. And it's something that, even though I think it's super healthy to question the coach, and like nobody should be unquestionable and all that, for me, a lot of it has kind of jumped the shark almost. Like, I know I'm in a position where I get a ton of comments and I get tagged in a lot of stuff on Twitter. And it's gotten to the point where people question the intelligence of the guy. He's
he's
not,
no dummy.
And that's the thing.
Dummy. Yeah.
Like, I think that there's a ton of stuff to question about Greg Berhalter, but I don't know. I don't know if you get the same sentiment. Like, has it gone too far at this point? Like, where is Greg Berhalter for you? Like, what do you think that he's?
If you're talking about criticism, I don't think, if you're talking about fan base criticism, some of it goes way too far. This guy's not getting fired if he loses his temper. This guy's not getting, he's not going anywhere. So if you're going to be critical, be specific about it. And, I know we get out of control on our show because we drink a lot and, we have bad habits. And so I'm usually the idiot that'll say something stupid about Greg. But I don't dislike Greg as a person. I have nothing against him. I try to be really specific about where I'm critical, but on the all in all, Greg's doing what he's got to do. And I have defended his belief that we need to let our big boys like Pulisic, Adams, and McKennie get a rest. I mean, even Julian Green, who people are like, well, why isn't Julian Green there? Well, Julian Green isn't there because he's starting his first Bundesliga season for years. He isn't, and his team just got promoted, and he's a leader on that team. He needs to be there for preseason. Even Green wanted to go. His club begged and said, no, you can't blame Berhalter for that. So I'm fine with Berhalter criticism as long as it is fair. And a lot of it isn't fair. Like, Greg's just going to go raid the coffers of, Greuther Fürth and say, I don't, you Greuther Fürth, I'm not going to say you Greuther Fürth. You notice how I'm bleeping out my F words? So he's not, because I know you're a more family friendly show.
I guess, I don't know.
I haven't heard you swear yet, so maybe I missed it.
Yeah.
So I try. I know when I go on other people's shows, Derek, tone down the F-bombs. But yeah, I mean, the criticism has to be fair and specific. You can't generalize. I think he's a good guy, and I think he's doing the best he can.
That's the thing. Like, he did win the Nations League.
He did.
And I know I got a comment the other day that kind of blew my mind, and it said Greg Berhalter's we're never going to win anything with Greg Berhalter. Maybe we beat Mexico, but we got lucky. And I'm thinking, like, we beat a Mexico team that we should not have beaten. Like, they were a better team than us. We lost Tyler Adams before that tournament. We had to go in there hobbled. We lost Aaron Long. We lost Chris Richards. We were very lucky to win that. I mean, luck, but like, we were not the favorites going into that game. I mean, winning that game was huge. And we've seen what reverberations it's had in Mexico and with Tata Martino and the way that they've approached this Gold Cup because of it. Like, he's got to get some credit there.
You got to give him credit for winning the Nations League. So those shows were the hardest for me that I did with Brett, because honestly, I had a hard time saying anything real bad. And a lot of people are saying, oh, the players bailed Greg out. No, That's not where it happened. I mean, I would have liked to see Musa. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but that's about the only criticism I could come up with, which is, hey, put Musa on the field, babe.
What you said there.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I think that's very important because we never know. And so many times we've questioned a decision or something's just seemed completely weird or out of place. And then later, a few days later or a few weeks later, we find out, oh, there was a very good reason for that. It makes sense now. I mean, the latest one was like Julian Araujo being left off the Gold Cup team. And we find out Julian turned down the offer. Luca De La Torre being left off the Gold Cup team. Luca De La Torre turned down the offer. At this point, I don't know if we'll ever find out about this, but I wonder if maybe Chris Mueller turned down an offer because he knew there were whispers out there. I don't know. That's
might have been
speculation.
Orlando. Probably Orlando more than Mueller said, please don't. You already took DK away from us. Don't take Mueller. Please. Maybe
that's what it is. I don't know. But more often than not, we come up with a reason later. I think what you said there is we don't always know what's going on behind the scenes. Did you think that you would come on here and defend Greg Berhalter? That's a weird place to be, isn't it?
I don't do that very often. But
because he does deserve some criticism. He's done some of his roster selections very strange. Some of his substitutions have been very strange. Sticking with Jackson Ewell for this long, you got to criticize the guy for that. However,
it's very predictable, and that's why Brett and I almost got every single starting person except for Lewis and DK.
Yeah.
We were able to call a starting lineup weeks ago. I mean, we knew what it was because, and this is the thing on the show, I channel my inner Berhalter. I often have to play the role.
Yeah,
of
I've seen that.
So, I do my best, but that's the thing. I would like it if Berhalter were a less predictable. I would like him to do that on the field as well sometimes. So, but those are all legit criticisms, but saying, he didn't bring a good team is on him. It's not on him. These are the guys that said yes. Even I was told by my folks at San Jose that Kate Cowell said, I'm not really ready to make a decision. He didn't say I'm thinking about Mexico like Araujo did, but he said, I'm not comfortable making a decision after all. And he said, okay, fine.
I think, I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing was true of Ricardo Pepi and, all these guys that have decisions to make coming up in the future. One kind of point that you brought up there was about Greg not being able to bring a strong team, and you think that that's a good thing. You think that it's a good thing that the players got rest in the offseason, like Pulisic and McKinney and all these guys. Right. One of the big arguments out there for bringing a strong team to the Gold Cup is that the U.S. men's national team, part of their responsibility is to bring more fans to the table, is to reinvigorate the fan base, win more games to bring more attention to the team, bring more fans in, all that stuff. And I was thinking about that, and I'm going to kind of put this to you. Do you think that that's Greg's responsibility or the responsibility of the U.S. national team?
It's not Greg's responsibility. His only responsibility is to qualify. I don't think it's Greg's job, and I don't think it's anyone's job, actually, to woo the casual fan. That's NBC's job. That's Fox's job. That's ESPN's job. That's not anybody. Okay, should the USSF be putting out the best product it can to draw fans in? Absolutely. But it's not their job to make sure, all the casual fans switch to non-casual, which, by the way, that's just not going to happen. I don't
think the Gold Cup is going to do that regardless of what happens.
No. I mean, my brother is a casual fan. He called me a week ago and said, hey, why is Pulisic not on this team? What's going on? There are a lot of guys that aren't going to be on this team. And I explained to him why. He's like, oh, okay, cool. So we're playing like a B team? Like, hell, B minus, C plus.
It's not. No, it's just a collection of players who were more or less available.
That's right. And, he got it immediately. He said, well, I might watch it then. He's like, I'm not sure if I'll watch it. Well, there are going to be a lot more casual fans out there, like my brother, who are going to say, hey, where are these big dudes I've been hearing about? They're not on this team. Well, they're going to find out. This is a C plus team in the Gold Cup, and even casual fans will accept it after a while and they'll root for the team. They might not tune in because there's no Pulisic there. Don't tell Fox that. They're selling it like this is,
Yeah.
a bucket of gold, but it's not. It's not.
Yeah, they've been highly criticized for that too, using some of the top players in their marketing.
Yeah, I've been one of them, but who cares what I say?
All right, so one topic I wanted to get into with you is you are the Straight Red Card is a veteran of the U.S. soccer scene. You guys were around in the days when big soccer ruled all, and you guys have seen a lot of stuff come and go in the U.S. soccer community. The first question I have for you is, why did you guys decide now was the time to reinvigorate the brand and to come back out of retirement with the Straight Red Card? And then follow that up with what have you seen that's changed in the community since you guys left?
What made us come back? That's, it was a mixture of like COVID. All my kids are out of the house. So selfishly, I thought, surely Brett's ready to do this again. But, Brett's got like a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. So, I'm being selfish there. All my kids are off to college or whatever. And I'm divorced. My life is a dog. I have a dog named Gizmo. That's it. That's all I got to take care of is me and a dog. So I thought, I got more time now. I've been tracking Yanks Abroad. I've been doing this Yanks Abroad report that people steal from for 10 years now. And why not just start the show back up? And I called Brett and we talked about it, and he's like, yeah, I think we can do that again. Let's just do it. I miss it. I'm like, I miss it too. It was 7 years. We didn't, even contemplate coming back. But remembered how fun it was the last time, but we were a little buffered because we were Big Soccer's vidcast podcast. So there are things we couldn't absolutely say without some blowback. So I'll be honest there. There were things I couldn't curse. Mm-hmm. Let's start there. I couldn't swear. I swear all the time on the show. No, I love it. But there were things that we couldn't report and we couldn't say that we knew behind the scenes. Now we just say we're doing it all. And this is a new era. Let's start over and have fun. Let's have fun. Yeah. Win or lose, let's just have fun. So, we agreed, let's do it. And then Brett's got this IT degree, and I know nothing about that shit. So, sorry, I know nothing about that stuff. So it was perfect. I'll do the blabber and the planning, and he'll make sure it all comes together. We'll come together, and we have such different but the same thoughts. We're different personalities, and that helps too. So it was just the time to come back and have fun with the fans. And by the way, I have to say, for you guys that do it alone, like you, Sam, and Tactical, and it is not easy. Like, I could not do a solo show. I seriously could not. I would be so boring. It would be awful. So I have to give you guys credit for being able to pull that off. Without Brett, I'm pretty dull, actually.
Oh, I remember the first time I came across it, I was like, well, this is cool. This is different. This is interesting. And I subscribe to you guys. And one thing about you guys put out content all the time. It's almost daily. Like almost every day I start my day with listening to you guys and seeing what you guys are up to. What's your thoughts on whatever the topic du jour is?
Yeah. And we actually just take 4 segments on one night. Just put them out. We're not doing this every day.
That's the secret.
Yeah, there's no way. With our schedules, and Brett's schedule, there's just no way we could pull that off. So yeah, we try to think into the future as far as possible and do shows, and then sometimes we're wrong because it's 4 days later. Whatever
things come at you fast in U.S. soccer. So what have you noticed since you guys have been back and you're kind of back in the community? How have things changed? What's been the development with the fan base? The fan base is so much bigger and so much there's just so much more access. It's incredible whenever you think back to like the days that you're talking about when big soccer ruled the world, and like you literally, maybe there was some guy that lived in Germany that could like was at the game and could tell you how the guy played. But outside of that, like you didn't know how the guy was doing, and today, even in academy games, we get every touch videos. I watched some of Tim Weah's preseason game today on YouTube. It's just the amount of access that we have is absolutely insane. So what have you guys have noticed as in changes in the community and just the access and everything?
Well, I mean, obviously, the number of fans in general has grown. It's larger. It's a larger beast. It's a large mammal. Before it was sort of a beaver-sized animal, right? And now we're like a buffalo. So the only thing is, as those things grow, the parts of those animals also grow. The beaver turns into a buffalo, but that part of the beaver that was uneducated, uninformed, but loud gets bigger too.
Yeah.
And the part of the people who know a lot, that grew, the head grew. And so there are more people that know what the hell they're talking about now too, which is a relief. It really is, because I run a few pages on Facebook, and you know what? I've just given up. I can't reply to every incorrect answer. There are people now there who can do it for me. I don't have to do it. I don't have to go in and say, no, Palmer Brown turned down the call up. Somebody else will do it. I don't have to do it. So there's that relief. And then there's that middle chunk of the animal that is still sort of between casual and learned. And, I find that a good percentage of them want to learn more. Unfortunately, there is a chunk of them that thinks they already learned all they need to learn, and they know it all, and they have the answer to everything. And therefore you get things like, well, MLS isn't developing any young players. We have no young players. Our youth development system is a disaster. No, it's not perfect. It needs a lot of fixing, but it's not a disaster. There are things happening out there. MLS is developing players. They are going overseas. And then I send them a link to 333 players playing overseas, and they're like, oh, well, I didn't know that. Well, no, you didn't know it, but you came out like you did. And so that's the kind of things you're having to work through right now.
Yeah, there's interesting that there's like dug-in camps within the U.S. men's national team community that are very obsessed with one specific topic, and it's usually a negative. It's usually upset about one specific topic, and if you look at their Twitter account, it'll be 90% of their tweets are about or replies about that specific topic. And if that's how you want to spend your day, I guess, I mean, enjoy that. But it is frustrating to interact with that type of
pro reg. I mean, come on. I've been listening to it for 15 years. I can't take anymore. That horse has been beaten. It's dead. Would I like to see PNR? Sure. But can we just spare us? I mean, it's not going to happen. We know how money works. We know how the system is set up. You're not going to get pro reg. I'm sorry. Stop beating a dead horse. There's
a lot of horse beating in the U.S. men's national team community, that's for sure. I mean, we talked about one earlier, like the Greg Berhalter thing. Like, no matter what happens in this Gold Cup, Greg's not going anywhere. No matter what happens in the next couple of years, MLS is not going to have pro rel. And at no point in the next probably couple million years is the U.S. ever going to be in Europe unless like those plates come together and touch, or the U.S. is going to be in South America. So the majority of American players as they grow up are going to be developed in MLS because that's where they live. Unless that they're these kids that are just these 1 in a million type kids like your Christian Pulisic's and your Gio Reynas and your Timo Weahs that have parents that have passports that were heavily involved in soccer, that were able to give these, and also were of a socioeconomic level that they were able to give these kids access to training overseas. The majority of your players are going to be like your Chris Richards and your Tyler Adams, these guys that are going to come up through the MLS system and potentially move over, or maybe move over later, or maybe never move over. I don't know, but
Yeah, there's it's just a fact at this point that we're sending over 3 or 4 youngsters every window now. Youngsters,
Yeah.
kids, we're sending them over to Europe. We're sending them mostly to Germany. I get it. Yes, I am half German. I think that's wonderful. I think the Bundesliga is a great place for young players. So things aren't. It isn't a failure. It's just, are there things that could get better? Absolutely. Always things can get better. I'm not defending USSF. I'm not defending MLS. But to say we are not developing any young players is just wrong.
Yeah, I've been bringing this up. Brian Reynolds was on the Golden Boy list this year. I mean, that was an MLS player. He still had more games in MLS than he's had for Roma. He hasn't looked good at Roma. But yet he was among, I forget what Golden Boy is. I think it's like the 60 best players who are under 20 in Europe or something like that. Maybe 40. I don't know.
40, but you might be. It doesn't matter. I mean,
either way, it's an incredible achievement for the league to have developed a guy like that. And he wasn't the only one. Also, Gio Reyna, who spent time in the New York City FC Academy. But I know a lot of people are going to say, he got developed in Dortmund, which is fine. Okay, Brian Reynolds, that's a guy that went from MLS to being one of the top teenagers in the world. That's a pretty incredible, not the world, Europe, but that's a pretty incredible achievement.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to tell me that a guy like Reyna, who spent the majority of his life, born in Sunderland, but spent the majority of his life in the United States, and went, to Dortmund at 16 or 17? Was it 16 or 17?
I believe so.
Somewhere around there. Are you telling me then that all the 15 years before that, in which Dortmund went and watched Reyna play and say, "Oh, this kid's got talent"? There's a reason Dortmund brought Reyna over there. He wasn't an unfinished product. He was a product that could develop and be better, or he was an unfinished product. Correct, yes. But he already had shown something that those Dortmund guys saw that said, "Whoa, we can take this talent and we could make it more." So you got to give Hershey, Pennsylvania some credit. You got to give FC Dallas and their academy some credit. They're pouring players over there. They're leaking like a cracked dam, and people just don't want to recognize it. Okay.
I think all of what you're saying speaks to this larger discussion of the inferiority complex that just permeates through the U.S. soccer world, where there's this idea that just Americans are never going to get a grip of this game. Anything American is bad. It's got to be kissed by the lips of Europe or South America in order to be cleansed of the Americanness that, Brian Reynolds played in MLS at FC Dallas for a season. But yet he went to Roma and got a couple of appearances over there. And now that changed him as a player, that inferiority complex speaks to why it's a big reason why people will never give Greg Berhalter a chance, that, we're always going to need some foreign manager to come in and save the day, or why, MLS is never going to just be good enough in some people's eyes. The same reason why we need Pro Rel. This, it covers this whole discussion that we're having right now.
Yeah, it's hard to listen to online on social media, which is why Brett does all our Twitter. I'm on Twitter somewhere. I haven't done it for 10 years.
Well, he's doing a good job, because you guys are in a lot of discussions right now. There's a lot of people that look to you guys as opinion leaders, as people who should be followed in the U.S. Soccer community. When people ask, what account should I be following if I want to learn more about the game, you guys more often than not are a part of that list. You've grown tremendously. I think you've got right about 500 subscribers right now in the last couple of months. Almost 600.
Almost 600 now, yeah.
Well, hopefully after this video, it'll be well over 600, and you guys will be well on your way to 1,000. So Derek, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I want you to take a minute to tell everybody about the Straight Red Card and why they should go to your channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, all that good stuff.
Hey, I've kind of already said it, so I'm just like, adding another layer of frosting here. But, if you just want to hear two regular guys who've been watching the game for 30 plus years, they're old, kind of grumbly and crunchy, but they swear a lot and just have a good time reviewing all the things U.S. soccer. Then check out the Straight Red Card. Come visit us on YouTube. Brett usually writes me the script for this, so I'm totally right now. So I'm doing the best I can. But Sam,
it is always a good time.
Well, we try to have a good time, and Sam, thanks for having us on. We're planning on having you on during the qualifiers at some point once they start. So I hope we can make that happen. It probably won't be on StreamYard. But hey, we made it work today.
Before you go, let me ask you a few questions, a few quick ones. What is your favorite U.S. men's national team jersey of all time?
I know probably people are not going to like this, but I like the red hoops. Sorry, I did. I like
the Waldo?
Red. Yes, I love those.
Why would people? That's the most popular jersey. Why would people not like that?
Some people say it's unoriginal, and that makes me an unoriginal bastard. But I am sorry. I really like that. I'm sorry. I did. I even like the popsicle ones too. A lot of people don't like the popsicle ones. I love the popsicle ones.
What was your highest achievement in your soccer playing career?
I went to the state semifinals for Fort Knox. We played Ballard in those semifinals. Ballard is a juggernaut Louisville team, private Louisville school. We lost 2-1. It was 2-1, or it was 2-0. We scored. It was 2-1. Oh, and then Grant Matola made a back pass to Aaron Cush in the goal, and it went through his legs and into the goal. He lifted
Aaron
his
Cush.
Head. It was a horrible field. It wasn't his fault. It hit like a tuft in the field and went right through his legs into the goal. And then we were down 3-1, and then we were out. But I was a right midfielder. So.
And finally, whenever it's game day, if there's a big game going on, do you have any superstitions or rituals whenever you watch the game?
I just drink a lot, smoke a lot. That's all I got. I don't have no superstitions. I'm totally agnostic about superstitions.
Derek, thank you so much for coming on the show. Guys, if you enjoyed this conversation, please don't forget to hit that like button. I appreciate everyone that hits the like button. If you're still watching at this point and you are not yet subscribed, you're an absolute maniac to be watching soccer discussion for this long without being subscribed to the channel. Please hit that subscribe button. For Derek of the Straight Red Card, my name is Sam. This is the Yank Report. Thank you guys for watching.